The red sun of New Horizon cast long shadows across the crystal mines as Kim Dae wiped sweat from his forehead. The alien overseers floated above the worksite in their metal pods, watching every move the human workers made. Their cold blue eyes never blinked, never showed mercy. Kim Dae kept his head down and continued checking the safety equipment. As the demolition specialist, he was responsible for clearing blocked tunnels and breaking up large crystal formations. The work was dangerous, but it was better than digging in the deep mines where many humans never came back up. Another At Tunnel 7, Park Jin whispered as he walked past carrying a heavy load of tools. Park Jin had been Kim Dae's friend since childhood, back when Earth was still free. Now they were both slaves on this distant world, working for the Vorthok Empire. Kim Dae nodded slightly. Kevins were becoming more common. The aliens pushed the workers harder each day, demanding more crystal ore for their war machines. They did not care if humans died in the process. To them, humans were just another tool to be used and thrown away. The Vorthok feared fire above all else. Their bodies were made of living silicon and crystal, beautiful but fragile when exposed to heat. Because of this fear, they had banned all fire-based technology on New Horizon. No matches, no lighters, no flame tools of any kind. Even the cooking fires in the human camps were watched carefully by alien guards. But Kim Dae remembered the old ways. His grandfather had been a demolition expert on Earth, and he had taught Kim Dae the secrets of working with explosives and controlled burns, knowledge that could mean death if the aliens discovered it. A loud rumble shook the ground. Then screams echoed from Tunnel 7. Cave in, Major Cave in, someone shouted. Kim Dae dropped his tools and ran toward the tunnel entrance. Other workers were already gathering, their faces filled with panic. The tunnel mouth was completely blocked by fallen rocks and crystal chunks. Somewhere behind that wall of debris, dozens of human workers were trapped. An alien overseer floated down from above. Its voice was like grinding metal when it spoke through its translation device. Work continues. Lost workers will be replaced, but people are still alive in there. Park Jin stepped forward, his fists clenched. We can hear them calling for help. The alien's blue eyes flashed. Humans are replaceable. Crystal production must not stop. Kim Dae stared at the blocked tunnel. He could hear faint voices calling from behind the rocks. The standard rescue equipment would take hours to clear the debris. By then, the trapped workers would run out of air. But there was another way, a faster way that the aliens would never allow. I need to check the stability of the remaining tunnels, Kim Dae told the overseer. Make sure no more caves happen. The alien nodded. It did not want to lose more work sites. Kim Dae gathered his equipment and walked toward the supply shed. His heart was beating fast, but he kept his face calm. Inside the shed, Kim Dae quickly gathered what he needed. Chemical compounds that were used for cleaning crystal formations, metal powder from the tool maintenance area, wire and detonators that were supposedly for approved demolition work. The aliens had sensors that could detect most dangerous combinations, but Kim Dae knew how to mix compounds that would not trigger their alarms. Working quickly and quietly, he prepared several small charges, not the huge explosions that would bring down more of the tunnel, but precise burns that would crack the rocks in exactly the right places. His grandfather's lessons came back to him as he worked. The key was understanding how fire moved, how it could be controlled and directed like a tool. Park Jin appeared at the shed door. What are you doing? Something that might get us both killed, Kim Dae replied. But those people in the tunnel will die for sure if we do nothing. Park Jin looked at the devices Kim Dae was preparing. Fire charges. The aliens will execute you if they find out. Only if they find out. Kim Dae finished his work and carefully placed the charges in his tool bag. I need you to create a distraction. Get the overseers focused on something else for about 10 minutes. Park Jin was quiet for a moment, then he nodded. I will think of something. They walked back toward Tunnel 7. The alien overseers were still floating above the worksite, and human workers were starting to drift back to their other tasks. The voices from inside the tunnel were getting weaker. Park Jin suddenly grabbed a heavy crystal chunk and hurled it at one of the alien pods. The crystal bounced off harmlessly, but it got the aliens' attention. Murderers, Park Jin shouted. You are letting innocent people die. The aliens immediately focused on Park Jin. 2 more overseers floated down from the sky. Their weapons began to glow as they prepared to punish the rebellious human. Kim Dae used the distraction to slip close to the tunnel entrance. He placed his charges at carefully chosen spots along the debris wall. Each one was designed to create a controlled burn that would weaken the rocks without causing another cavern workers. Move away from Tunnel 7, one of the aliens commanded as they surrounded Park Jin. Perfect. Kim Dae activated the first charge. A bright flash lit up the tunnel entrance, followed by a sharp crack as rocks split along their weak points. The aliens spun around, their eyes wide with shock and terror. Fire. Illegal fire. Kim Dae triggered the second and third charges in quick sequence. Each small explosion was precisely placed to open a path through the debris. Smoke and flame filled the air, making the aliens panic and retreat. The tunnel is opening, someone shouted. Through the smoke and falling rocks, Kim Dae could see a narrow passage forming. The trapped workers began to emerge, coughing and stumbling, but alive. Park Jin was among the first to come out, his face covered with dust but grinning widely. Impossible, one of the alien overseers whispered. Human-controlled fire. Kim Dae stood in the smoke, his tools still in his hands. Around him, the rescued workers were helping each other to safety. The aliens floated at a safe distance, too afraid of the lingering flames to come closer. For a moment, Kim Dae felt something he had not experienced in years. Pride, not just in saving lives, but in proving that humans were more than just slaves. They were survivors, adapters, fighters. Then reality crashed back down. The aliens' initial shock was wearing off. Their weapons were beginning to charge again, and this time they were aimed at Kim Dae. "Seize the fire criminal," the lead overseer commanded. "Commander Valox must see this human immediately." Kim Dae looked at Park Jin and the other rescued workers. They were safe, and that was what mattered. He dropped his tools and raised his hands as the alien guards approached, but something had changed in that moment when fire danced at his command, something that the aliens would soon discover they could not control or understand. Kim Dae had remembered who he really was, and what humans could do when they stopped being afraid. The hunt was about to begin. Kim Dae ran through the narrow maintenance tunnels beneath the mining complex. His breathing was heavy and his hands were still shaking from what had happened at Tunnel 7. Behind him, he could hear the alien search pods humming as they scanned. The upper levels thought the escape had been luck more than planning. When the alien guards came to arrest him, a second cave-in happened at Tunnel 4. In the confusion, Park Jin had created a diversion by accidentally dropping a load of crystal ore. The loud crash and flying crystal pieces made the aliens retreat, in panic, giving Kim Dae just enough time to slip away. Now he was deep underground, in tunnels that most humans did not even know existed. The air was thick and warm, and strange glowing moss on the walls provided dim light. Kim Dae had discovered these passages months ago while doing repair work, but he had never explored them fully. His foot hit something soft. Kim Dae looked down and saw a human lying against the tunnel wall. The person was alive but unconscious, wearing clothes that Kim Dae did not recognize. They were clean and well-maintained, not like the dirty work uniforms all the miners wore. "Another lost lamb finds his way home," a voice said from the shadows. Kim Dae spun around. A woman stepped into the dim light. She was Asian like him, probably in her 30s, with short black hair and intelligent eyes. She was holding a medical bag and wearing the same clean clothes as the unconscious person. "Who are you?" Kim Dae asked. "Lina, I am a doctor, or I was before the aliens came." She knelt beside the unconscious person and began checking their pulse. "This is Han Su. He got hurt in our last supply run, and you must be the famous firemaker who saved those miners." Kim Dae took a step back. "I do not know what you mean." Lina smiled. "The whole colony is talking about it. A human who made fire dance like a tool. The aliens are going crazy trying to find you. Their search pods have been flying around for hours." "How do you know about that?" "Because we have people everywhere. In the mines, in the processing plants, even in the alien command centers." Lina finished examining Han Su and stood up. "We have been waiting for someone like you, we, the resistance. Did you think you were the only human who refused to accept slavery?" Lina gestured for Kim Dae to follow her deeper into the tunnel. "Come, Ru Sol wants to meet you." They walked through a maze of passages that seemed to go on forever. Some tunnels were natural caves in the rock, others had been dug by humans, probably during the early days of the colony. Kim Dae saw signs of recent activity everywhere. Food, supplies, communication, equipment, sleeping areas. "How many people are down here?" he asked. "About 200 in this section, maybe 800 total throughout the tunnel system." Lina stopped at a heavy metal door. "We have been preparing for 3 years, gathering supplies, recruiting people, learning about alien weaknesses." She opened the door and led Kim Dae into a large underground chamber. The space was filled with activity. Humans were working on weapons, studying maps, and training with makeshift combat equipment. It looked like a military base hidden beneath the ground. "Impressive, is it not?" a man's voice said. Kim Dae turned to see a tall Korean man approaching them. He was older than Lina, maybe 45, with gray streaks in his black hair. His eyes were sharp and alert like a soldier's. But what caught Kim Dae's attention was the burn scar that covered the left side of the man's face. "I am Sol. I command this resistance cell." The man extended his hand. "And you are the demolition expert who reminded our alien masters why they should fear fire." Kim Dae shook Ru Sol's hand. "I just tried to save some people. I did not mean to start anything, but you did start something." The aliens are terrified. For the first time since they conquered this world, they have seen a human use their greatest fear as a weapon. Ru Sol gestured around the chamber. "Everyone here heard about what you did. It gave them hope." "What happened to your face?" Kim Dae asked. Ru Sol touched his scar. "I was a military engineer when the aliens first invaded. I tried to fight them with conventional weapons and lost badly. That is when I learned that to defeat the Vorthok, we must use what they fear most. Lina led Kim Dae to a table covered with strange devices and chemical containers. We have been trying to develop fire-based weapons for months, but every attempt either fails completely or explodes uncontrollably. Kim Dae examined the devices. He could see the problems immediately. You are trying to force the fire instead of guiding it. Fire is not just about heat and explosion. It has patterns, behaviors. You must understand how it wants to move. Show us, Ru, Sol said. Kim Dae looked around the chamber. It was full of people, and one mistake could kill dozens. Not here. Too dangerous. But I can teach you the principles. For the next several hours, Kim Dae shared everything his grandfather had taught him. How different chemicals burned at different temperatures. How to control the direction and intensity of flames. How to create charges that would burn through alien crystal armor without causing massive explosions that would collapse tunnels. The resistance members listened carefully, taking notes and asking questions. Kim Dae realized that many of them were engineers, doctors, teachers, and other skilled professionals. The aliens had enslaved humanity's best and brightest, but they had not broken their spirits. The key is patience, Kim Dae explained as he drew diagrams on a piece of paper. Big explosions are impressive, but small controlled burns are more useful. Like surgery instead of chopping with an axe. Lina nodded. That makes sense. In medicine, we use small precise cuts instead of large wounds. Exactly. Fire can be medicine too, if you know how to use it. A young man ran into the chamber. Commander Rusol. The aliens are bringing in a special ship. Our contacts in the communication center say it carries a scientist from the Vorthok homeworld. Rusol's expression darkened. What kind of scientist? A researcher who studies alien species. His name is Zenth, and he has been given full authority to capture and examine the Firemaker. Kim Dae felt a chill run down his spine. They want to experiment on me, not just you. They want to understand how humans can control fire. If they learn our secrets, they can develop defenses against fire-based attacks. Rusol turned to the other resistance members. This changes everything. We cannot wait any longer. What do you mean? Lina asked. We had planned to spend another 6 months preparing before launching our first major attack, but if this scientist learns how to neutralize our fire weapons, we will lose our only advantage. Rusol looked at Kim Dae. Are you willing to help us strike first? Kim Dae thought about Park Jin and the other miners still trapped above ground. He thought about the workers he had saved, and the thousands more who lived in fear every day. What do you need me to do? Help us build real fire weapons, teach our people how to fight with flame, and then help us hit the aliens where they least expect it. Lina placed a hand on Kim Dae's shoulder. It will be dangerous. If we are caught, the aliens will not just kill us. They will make examples of us to terrify other humans. They are already hunting me, Kim Dae replied. At least this way, I can fight back. Ju Sol smiled, the first genuine smile Kim Dae had seen since arriving underground. Welcome to the Resistance, Firemaker. Let us show these crystal tyrants what happens when they try to cage the flame. Over the next several days, Kim Dae worked with the Resistance to develop their first real weapons. Using his knowledge and their resources, they created small firebombs that could melt through alien armor. They built flamethrowers that used common mining chemicals as fuel. Most importantly, they trained dozens of humans to think like firefighters instead of soldiers. But even as they prepared for war, Kim Dae knew their time was running out. The alien scientist Zenth was getting closer to finding them, and when he did, the real test would begin. The underground had become his new home. Soon, it might become his tomb. But at least he would not die as a slave. 2 weeks had passed since Kim Dae joined the Resistance. The underground base had become a workshop of fire and hope. Humans who had never touched anything more dangerous than mining tools were now learning to craft flame weapons with steady hands and determined hearts. Kim Dae wiped sweat from his forehead as he finished adjusting another firebomb. These were smaller than his first attempts, designed to burn through alien crystal armor without alerting every enemy patrol in the area. Lina had helped him understand how to make the flames burn hotter but quieter, like a whisper that could melt steel. The reconnaissance team is back, Rusol announced as he entered the workshop. Behind him walked 3 resistance members, their faces grim with exhaustion and worry. What did you find at the main processing facility? Lina asked. One of the scouts, a young woman named Kim Soo, stepped forward. Bad news. They have moved over 300 human workers there, men, women, even some children. They are working them in 12-hour shifts with almost no food. Kim Dae felt anger burning in his chest. They are trying to break our people completely. It gets worse, Kim Soo continued. The facility is heavily guarded. At least 50 alien pods, plus ground patrols and sensor networks. But the worst part is the setup. They have the human workers in the center, surrounded by the aliens. If we attack, innocent people will be caught in the middle. Rusol studied the map that Kim Soo spread on the table. This could be a trap. They might be using our own people as shields. Or it could be an opportunity, Kim Dae said quietly. If we can get inside and free the workers, we gain 300 new resistance members. Lina shook her head. Too dangerous. Even with our fire weapons, we cannot fight 50 alien pods and keep the workers safe. What if we do not fight them all at once? Kim Dae pointed to different areas on the map. Small teams, coordinated attacks, create confusion and panic. While the aliens are trying to deal with fires in multiple locations, a rescue team gets the workers out. Rusol was quiet for a long moment, studying the map. It could work, but we would need perfect timing and a lot of luck. When do we go? Kim Dae asked. Tomorrow night. The aliens rotate their guards then, and we will have a 15-minute window when their patrols are changing positions. The next evening, Kim Dae found himself crawling through a drainage pipe that led toward the processing facility. With him were Lee Na and 4 other resistance members, all carrying fire weapons that Kim Dae had personally tested and approved. Park Jin was part of the rescue team, along with Ru Sol and 10 other fighters. They would wait for Kim Dae's signal before moving in to evacuate the workers. The plan was simple in theory but would require split-second timing to work in practice. Kim Dae reached the end of the drainage pipe and carefully lifted the metal grate. Through the opening he could see the processing facility's outer wall. Alien patrol pods floated in regular patterns around the perimeter, their blue light sweeping back and forth like deadly eyes. Target positions confirmed, he whispered into his communication device. Beginning Phase 1. Kim Dae and his team emerged from the drainage system and spread out around the facility. Each person carried 3 firebombs, designed to create maximum confusion with minimum risk to the human workers inside. The key was timing. All 6 positions had to be hit simultaneously. Phase 1 in 10 seconds. Kim Dae whispered. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. 6 small explosions lit up the night around the processing facility. The firebombs had been placed to target alien equipment and guard posts, not the main building where the humans were kept. Flames erupted from sensor arrays, communication towers, and patrol pod charging stations. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Alien pods began flying in all directions, their pilots screaming in their crystalline language. The creatures that feared fire above all else suddenly found themselves surrounded by it. Phase 2. Go. Rusol's voice crackled through the communication device. The rescue team moved in while the aliens were distracted. Kim Dae watched from his position as Park Jin and the others reached the main building. So far, everything was going according to plan. Then Kim Dae saw something that made his blood freeze. A group of human workers was walking toward the alien command post, led by a man Kim Dae recognized. It was Han Min, one of the senior miners from the colony. But he was not a prisoner. He was walking freely, talking to the alien commander. Trap, Kim Dae whispered urgently into his communication device. It is a trap. Someone betrayed us. But his warning came too late. Alien pods that had been hidden underground suddenly emerged around the rescue team. Bright lights flooded the area, and the air filled with the hum of charging alien weapons. Surrender immediately, an alien voice boomed through speakers. You are surrounded. Resistance is futile. Kim Dae watched in horror as his friends were captured one by one. Park Jin tried to fight back with his flame weapon, but an alien energy beam struck him in the shoulder, sending him crashing to the ground. Ru Sol managed to destroy 2 alien pods before he was overwhelmed and taken prisoner. All teams retreat, Kim Dae ordered, but he knew it was too late for most of them. Lee Na's voice came through his communication device, filled with static and pain. Kim Dae, they have us but the fire weapons worked. The aliens are terrified. Do not let our sacrifice be meaningless. Kim Dae wanted to rush in and help his friends, but he knew that would only get him captured too. With tears in his eyes, he retreated back through the drainage system as alien search pods began combing the area. 3 hours later, Kim Dae was back at the underground base, surrounded by the few resistance members who had not been captured. The mood was dark and desperate. 17 of our best people are gone, one of the survivors reported, including Commander Ru Sol and most of our experienced fighters who betrayed us. Kim Dae asked, though he already knew the answer. Han Min, his family was being held prisoner by the aliens. They promised to release his wife and daughter if he helped them capture the resistance leaders. Kim Dae understood the man's choice, but it still hurt. Fear and desperation made people do terrible things, even to their own kind. What happens now? Lee Na asked. She had managed to escape during the confusion, but her left arm was badly burned from an alien weapon. Before anyone could answer, the base's warning system activated. Through the communication speakers came a voice speaking in broken human language, clearly using a translation device. Humans of the Resistance, this is Scientist Zenth of the Vorthok Empire. We have captured your leaders and your firemakers, closest associates. If the one called Kim Dae does not surrender within 48 hours, they will all be executed. But surrender peacefully, and I promise they will be treated well while I conduct my research. The transmission ended, leaving the survivors in stunned silence. Kim Dae looked around at the remaining resistance members. Most of them were looking at him, waiting for his decision. He thought about Park Jin, wounded and captured because of a plan Kim Dae had helped create. He thought about Ru Sol and the others, facing death or worse in alien prison cells. I have to surrender, Kim Dae said quietly. No, Lina replied firmly. If you surrender, they will torture you for information and then kill you anyway. And they will still execute the others as examples. Then what do you suggest? Lina's eyes were hard with determination. We rescue them, all of them, and we make these aliens pay for every human life they have taken. Kim Dae looked at the small group of survivors. Less than 20 people against an entire alien empire. It seemed impossible, but then he remembered the look of terror in the aliens' eyes when his firebombs had exploded. He remembered how their crystal bodies trembled when flames danced in the darkness. Maybe impossible was exactly what they needed to be. Kim Dae stood at the entrance to the alien command center, his hands bound behind his back with crystal restraints. 2 days had passed since he made his choice to surrender, hoping to save his captured friends. The alien guards around him kept their distance, their blue eyes filled with fear and fascination. The command center was a massive crystal structure that rose from the ground like a frozen flame. Inside, the walls pulsed with alien technology, and the air hummed with energy that made Kim Dae's skin feel strange and tingly. The fire human has arrived, one of the guards announced in their grinding metal language. A door opened, and the alien scientist Zenth floated into the room. Unlike the military aliens Kim Dae had seen before, Zenth was smaller and more delicate looking. His crystal body was a pale green color, and his eyes seemed larger and more intelligent than those of the soldiers. Fascinating, Zenth said, his translation device making his voice sound almost curious rather than threatening. You voluntarily surrendered to save others of your species. Such behavior contradicts our understanding of survival instincts. Where are my friends? Kim Dae asked. Safe, for now. As I promised. Zenth moved closer, studying Kim Dae like he was examining an interesting specimen. But their continued safety depends on your cooperation with my research. What kind of research? Zenth gestured, and the walls around them became transparent, showing images of the attacks Kim Dae had made on alien facilities. You have done something that should be impossible. You have formed a partnership with combustion itself. My people have studied thousands of species across the galaxy, but none have ever managed to control fire the way humans do, Kim Dae said. Nothing his grandfather had taught him that sometimes the best weapon was silence. For 3 years, I have been studying your species, Zenth continued, trying to understand what makes humans different. Your physical strength is unremarkable. Your technology is primitive. Your lifespans are brief. Yet somehow, you have something that terrifies my people more than any weapon. Maybe your people are just cowards, Kim Dae replied. Zenth's crystal body flickered with what might have been amusement. Perhaps, but fear exists for good reasons. Fire destroyed the first Vorthok civilization 10,000 years ago. A solar flare burned away our original homeworld, leaving only scattered survivors who swore never to trust flame again. Kim Dae was surprised by this admission. He had not expected the alien to share such personal information. But you humans embrace fire, Zenth continued. You make it serve you. You are not afraid of being burned because you understand fire's nature. This is what I must learn to understand. And if I refuse to help you, then tomorrow, you and your friends will be executed in the traditional Vorthok manner. You will be placed in our ceremonial furnace and burned alive while your people watch. Your deaths will serve as a lesson to any other humans who think they can resist the Empire. Kim Dae felt cold fear in his stomach, but he kept his voice steady. And if I cooperate, then your friends will live as my research subjects. Not comfortable, but alive. And you will help me unlock the secrets of human fire mastery before you are also executed. Your death will still be necessary, but it will to serve a greater scientific purpose. There was no good choice, but Kim Dae had expected that. From the moment he decided to surrender, he had known he was probably walking toward his own death. When does the execution happen? He asked. Tomorrow at midday. The entire human population of the colony will be forced to watch. Commander Val believes your death will finally break human resistance completely. That night, Kim Dae was kept in a crystal cell that glowed with alien energy. The walls were designed to drain heat from anything inside, making fire impossible to create or maintain. But as he sat in the cold darkness, Kim Dae was not thinking about escape. He was thinking about fire itself. His grandfather had once told him that fire was not just a tool or a weapon. It was a living force that chose its own path. You could guide it, shape it, work with it, but you could never truly control it. The secret was learning to become fire's partner rather than its master. Morning came too quickly. Alien guards escorted Kim Dae to the colony's main square, where thousands of human workers had been forced to gather. He could see Park Jin in the crowd, his shoulder bandaged but his eyes blazing with anger. Lina was there too, along with other resistance members who had not been captured. In the center of the square stood the Vorthok ceremonial furnace. It was a towering crystal structure shaped like a flame, with an opening at the base, just large, enough for a human body. Ancient alien symbols covered its surface, glowing within a fire. Citizens of New Horizon, Commander Valox announced through speakers that carried his voice across the square. Today you will witness the fate of those who defy the Vorthok Empire. Let this human's death remind you that resistance brings only suffering. Kim Dae was led to the furnace. The heat radiating from it was intense, even from several meters away. This was not the quick death of an explosion. This was designed to be slow and agonizing, a spectacle of terror. Scientist Zenth appeared beside Kim Dae. Last chance to cooperate. Help me understand human fire mastery, and I will make your death quick and painless. Kim Dae looked at the thousands of human faces watching him. He saw fear, despair, and resignation in their eyes, but he also saw something else, a spark of defiance that the aliens had not managed to extinguish. I will show you something about human fire mastery, Kim Dae said quietly, but not what you expect. The alien guards pushed Kim Dae toward the furnace opening, crystal restraints, who held his arms and legs as he was positioned inside the ancient device. The heat was overwhelming, like standing inside a volcano. Activate the furnace, Commander Valox ordered. Zenth operated the controls, and the ceremonial device began to glow brighter. Flames erupted from vents around Kim Dae, surrounding him with fire that should have killed him instantly. But something strange happened. Instead of consuming Kim Dae, the flames seemed to dance around him. They burned away his crystal restraints but left his skin untouched. The fire that was supposed to torture him became something else entirely. Kim Dae stood in the center of the furnace, surrounded by flames that moved like living creatures. The heat that should have killed him felt warm and welcoming, like coming home after a long journey. Impossible, Zenth whispered. Kim Dae stepped out of the furnace, still surrounded by dancing flames. The fire followed him like loyal companions, spiraling around his body without burning him. He could feel their power, their joy at finally finding a true partner. You want to understand human fire mastery, Kim Dae said, his voice carrying across the silent square. The secret is not controlling fire. The secret is understanding that fire chooses who to serve. The watching humans began to murmur and then to cheer. Commander Valox screamed orders at his guards, but they were too terrified to approach the human who walked with living flames. Kim Dae looked at Zenth, whose crystal body was flickering with confusion and fear. Fire remembers everything. Alien remembers your world burning, it remembers your people's fear. And now it is chosen to serve those who respect it instead of those who run from it. The flames around Kim Dae suddenly expanded, reaching to the alien guards and equipment. Not to destroy, but to make a statement. Where the fire touched alien crystal technology, the devices simply stopped working, drained of their power. This is not possible, Commander Valox shouted. Humans cannot survive in our furnace. Your furnace was built to torture and kill, Kim Dae replied, the flames still dancing around him like a living crown. But fire serves a different master now. For the first time since the alien conquest began, Kim Dae saw hope returning to human eyes. The impossible had happened, and everyone that had witnessed it. The revolution was about to begin. The flames around Kim Dae pulsed with each heartbeat as he stood before the thousands of humans in the colony square. The alien guards had retreated to a safe distance, their weapons trained on him but their hands shaking too much to fire accurately. Kill him, Commander Valox screamed from his floating command pod. Kill the fire demon now. But when the alien energy beam struck Kim Dae, something impossible happened. The fire surrounding him absorbed the energy and grew brighter. The weapons that should have destroyed him only made him stronger. Park Jin was the first human to step forward. Despite his wounded shoulder, he walked straight toward Kim Dae without fear. Brother, he said simply, we are with you. Lina followed, then other resistance members, and finally ordinary workers who had never fought anyone in their lives. One by one, hundreds of humans moved to stand behind Kim Dae, facing the alien forces with new courage. You see this, Zenth? Kim Dae called to the alien scientist, who was frantically operating his recording equipment. This is what you never understood about humans. We do not follow fire. Fire follows us when we are willing to fight for what matters. Zenth's crystal body was flickering rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. Impossible. Fire is a destructive force. It cannot choose loyalty over its own nature. Fire's nature is not destruction, Kim Dae replied. Fire's nature is transformation. It burns away what is weak and leaves what is strong. Today, it burns away fear. Commander Valox activated his emergency protocols. Alien reinforcements began arriving from all over the colony. Patrol pods, ground vehicles, and even a massive battleship that descended from orbit. Within minutes, the humans were surrounded by overwhelming alien firepower. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick, Valox announced. Continue this madness, and you will all burn slowly. Kim Dae looked at the faces around him. These were not soldiers or heroes from legend. They were miners, engineers, teachers, doctors, and ordinary families. But they had made their choice to stand and fight rather than kneel and accept slavery. Lina, Kim Dae said quietly. Can you get the children and elderly to safety? Already done, she replied. They are in the underground tunnels. Han Su and the other survivors are leading them to the deep shelters. Good, Park Jin. Are you ready for this? His childhood friend grinned despite the pain from his wounded shoulder. I have been ready since the day they conquered our world. Kim Dae closed his eyes and reached out with senses he was still learning to understand. The fire around him was not just flame and heat, it was connection, communication, partnership, and through that partnership he could feel other fires throughout the colony. In the resistance workshops, fuel stores began to burn with controlled precision. In the alien equipment yards, crystal power sources overloaded and exploded. In the mining tunnels, carefully placed charges that Kim Dae had taught the resistance to make activated simultaneously. The colony erupted in dozens of coordinated fires, each one placed to cause maximum disruption with minimum harm to human, civilians. Alien communication towers melted, patrol pod charging stations exploded, crystal processing facilities shut down as their delicate equipment overheated. How Commander Valox demanded, "We destroyed your resistance. We captured your leaders." "You captured some of our leaders," Kim Dae corrected, "but you never understood what we were building. This is not a rebellion led by one person. This is awakening led by fire itself." The battleship overhead began targeting the human crowd with its main weapons. But as the energy beams struck, the fire around Kim Dae expanded outward, creating a protective shield that absorbed the attacks and redirected them back at the ship. Alien pods began falling from the sky. As their crystal hulls cracked from redirected heat, ground vehicles stopped working as their cooling systems failed. The overwhelming technological advantage that the Vorthok had relied on for years was becoming useless against enemies who fought with living flame. "All forces retreat to minimum. Safe distance," Valox ordered, his voice filled with panic. "Prepare orbital bombardment. We will destroy the entire colony if necessary." But Zenth's voice cut through the communication channel. "Wait, do not use orbital weapons. This phenomenon is too valuable to destroy. We must study it, understand it. The firehuman is destroying our entire occupation force. Because he represents something new in the galaxy, a species that has formed a symbiotic relationship with energy itself. If we can understand this, it could revolutionize Vorthok technology." Kim Dae heard this exchange through captured alien communication equipment. He realized that Zenth's scientific curiosity might be the key to saving more lives. "Zenth," Kim Dae called out, "you want to understand human fire mastery? Then let my people go, and I will teach you." The alien scientist's crystal body flickered with excitement. "You would share this knowledge. I will share some of it. Enough to satisfy your curiosity, in exchange for the freedom of every human in this colony." Commander Valox's voice was filled with rage. "Absolutely not. These primitives must be punished for their rebellion." Commander Zenth replied with cold authority, "I am operating under direct orders from the Empire's High Council. My research takes priority over your military objectives." For several tense minutes, the alien forces held their positions while their leaders argued. Kim Dae used the time to extend his fire sense throughout the colony, checking on civilian shelters and resistance positions. Finally, Zenth's voice returned. "I accept your proposal, firehuman, but I want a complete demonstration of your abilities and detailed explanations of how the fire bond is formed. And I want all human prisoners freed, all forced labor ended, and safe passage for anyone who wants to leave this world." "Agreed. But you will remain as my research subject until I am satisfied with the data." Kim Dae looked at Park Jin and Lina. They both nodded, understanding what he was choosing to sacrifice for the greater good. "One more condition," Kim Dae added. "I want to speak privately with some of my people first, to explain what is happening and make sure they understand the agreement very well." 1 hour, as the alien forces pulled back to a safer distance, Kim Dae gathered the resistance leaders around him. The fire that surrounded him had dimmed to a gentle glow, like a campfire rather than a weapon of war. "This is not over," he told them quietly. "Zenth thinks he can learn our secrets and then betray the agreement. But fire chooses its own teachers, and it does not serve those who break their promises." Lina touched his arm. "What do you need us to do?" "Spread the knowledge. Teach others what I taught you about working with fire instead of trying to control it. And remember that humans are strongest when we stand together." Park Jin clasped Kim Dae's shoulder. "We will not forget what you did here today." Kim Dae smiled. "What we did? Fire did not choose me because I am special. It chose me because I was willing to trust it. Any human can learn to do the same." As the hour ended and Kim Dae prepared to surrender himself to alien science, he looked up at the sky where more Vorthok ships were arriving. They thought they were coming to study a curious phenomenon. They had no idea they were about to meet a revolution that burned with the heart of human determination. 3 weeks had passed since Kim Dae entered Zenth's laboratory as a willing test subject. The alien scientist had kept his word about freeing human prisoners and ending forced labor. But Kim Dae knew this peace would not last long. Through the crystal walls of his containment chamber, he could see Zenth working frantically to unlock the secrets of human fire mastery. Subject shows no signs of cellular damage despite prolonged exposure to temperatures exceeding 2000 degrees. Zenth spoke into his recording device. "The fire bond appears to provide complete protection against heat-based damage." Most fascinating, Kim Dae sat quietly in the center of the chamber, surrounded by flames that danced without fuel or oxygen. The fire responded to his thoughts and emotions, sometimes flaring bright with anger, sometimes dimming to gentle warmth when he thought of his friends. How do you do it? Zenth asked for the 100th time. What allows your cellular structure to withstand conditions that would destroy any other organic matter? I told you before, Kim Dae replied patiently. It is not about my cells. It is about partnership. Fire protects those who understand it. But there must be a biological component, some genetic adaptation that allows humans to form this bond. Kim Dae shook his head. You are thinking like a scientist instead of thinking like fire. Fire does not care about genetics. Fire cares about respect, trust, and courage. Outside the laboratory, Kim Dae could sense other fires burning throughout the colony. The resistance had been busy during his captivity. Lina and Park Jin were teaching more humans to work with flame, creating a network of fire-touched individuals who could coordinate without using alien-monitored communication systems. But today felt different. Through his fire sense, Kim Dae could detect unusual activity. Many fires were moving toward the alien command center, and their patterns suggested a coordinated approach. Zenth, Kim Dae said suddenly. You should evacuate this facility. The alien scientist looked up from his instruments. Why? What are you sensing? My people are coming, and they have learned everything I taught them about fire warfare. As if summoned by his words, alarms began ringing throughout the command center. Through the crystal walls, Kim Dae could see alien guards running in panic as explosions erupted around the facility's perimeter. Impossible, Zenth whispered. We have sensor networks that should detect any approaching force. Your sensors look for heat signatures and energy weapons, Kim Dae explained. But fire-touched humans burn at the same temperature as their surroundings. We are invisible to your technology when we want to be. More explosions rocked the building. These were not the crude devices Kim Dae had first created weeks ago. These were sophisticated fire weapons that burned with precision and intelligence, targeting alien equipment while avoiding damage to human-occupied areas. Commander Valox's voice echoed through the facility's speakers. All forces to defensive positions. The fire terrorists are attacking the command center. They are not terrorists, Kim Dae said calmly. They are freedom fighters, and they are coming to finish what we started. Zenth's crystal body was flickering rapidly with fear and excitement. This is incredible. An entire human population developing fire mastery simultaneously. The implications for energy research are staggering. The implications for your empire are more important, Kim Dae replied. You cannot conquer people who have learned to fight with living flame. The laboratory's main door exploded inward in a controlled burst of fire. Through the smoke and flames walked Lina, Park Jin, and a dozen other humans Kim Dae recognized from the resistance. But they were different now. Each one moved with confidence and purpose, and small flames danced around their hands and shoulders like loyal pets. Time to go, fire brother, Park Jin said with a grin. The crystal containment chamber that had held Kim Dae for weeks simply melted away as he stood up. The fire around him expanded to embrace the flames his friends carried, creating a network of living light that filled the laboratory. Wait, Zenth called out desperately. You cannot leave. I am on the verge of understanding your fire bond completely. You understand nothing, Lina replied, her voice hard with anger. You see fire as a tool to be studied and controlled, but fire is not a tool. Fire is a partner that chooses who to trust. I can help you. My research could benefit your entire species. Kim Dae paused at the laboratory entrance. Despite everything, he felt some sympathy for the alien scientist. Zenth was genuinely curious about human capabilities, unlike Commander Valox who only wanted to destroy them. Fire chooses its own teachers. Zenth, if you truly want to understand, stop trying to cage it and start trying to respect it. The resistance team moved through the command center like a coordinated flame, burning through alien defenses with surgical precision. Kim Dae could sense the beautiful complexity of their attack, multiple teams working in perfect harmony. Each fire-touched human connected to the others through their shared bond with living flame. They reached the center of the facility, where the main crystal spire controlled all alien operations on New Horizon. The tower was massive, reaching hundreds of meters into the sky, pulsing with the energy that powered the entire occupation force. This is it, Rousseau said as he emerged from another corridor. The resistance commander had been freed during the initial phase of the attack, and his scarred face was grim with determination. Destroy this spire, and we cut off alien communication, transportation, and weapons systems throughout the colony. And probably kill everyone in the building, Lina pointed out, including us. Not if we do it right, Kim Dae said, studying the crystal structure with his enhanced senses. This is not about destruction. This is about transformation. He placed his hands on the base of the crystal spire and reached out with his fire. The alien technology was incredibly complex, but at its heart it was just another form of energy. Energy that could be guided, shaped, and redirected. Everyone, link with me, Kim Dae instructed. Pool your fire bonds. We are going to turn their own power against them. The other fire-touched humans joined hands around the crystal spire. Their individual flames merged into a single blazing network that pulsed with shared purpose. Through this connection, Kim Dae could feel the strength and determination of every person in the circle. Together, they reached into the crystal spire and began to change it, not destroying its structure but altering its purpose. The alien technology that had been designed to control and oppress was slowly transformed into something that served freedom. Instead of tyranny, energy patterns that had carried orders for forced labor now carried messages of liberation. Communication networks that had coordinated alien military operations now coordinated human resistance activities. The very power that had held the colony in slavery became the force that set it free. Throughout the command center, alien equipment began shutting down or switching to human control. Patrol pods fell from the sky as their power sources were redirected. Communication towers started broadcasting messages of hope instead of fear. The crystal weapons that had terrorized humans for years simply stopped working. Commander Val's voice echoed through the failing speaker systems, filled with panic and rage. Impossible. You cannot turn our technology against us. The crystal matrices are genetically locked to Warthog biosignatures. Technology serves whoever understands it best, Kim Dae replied, his voice somehow reaching every speaker in the facility. And we understand that all energy comes from the same source. The same fire that burns in stars burns in crystal matrices. It just needed someone to remind it where its loyalties should lie. The transformation was complete. The alien command center had become a human command center, with all its vast power now serving the people it had once oppressed. Around the facility, Kim Dae could sense alien forces retreating in confusion and terror as their weapons and vehicles became useless. But the battle was not over. Through the spire's enhanced sensors, Kim Dae detected a massive Warthog fleet approaching from orbit, hundreds of ships carrying thousands of alien soldiers, all preparing to retake the colony by force. They are coming back, Rousseau observed grimly. More ships than we have ever seen. They mean to destroy the entire world, rather than lose it. Let them come, Kim Dae said, his voice calm but filled with quiet power. Fire burns brightest when it has fuel to consume, and they are bringing us a great deal of fuel. As the alien fleet entered the planet's atmosphere, something unprecedented happened. The fire touched humans throughout the colony, linked their abilities through the transformed crystal network. Their individual flames merged into a single vast consciousness that reached out to embrace the approaching ships. The aliens had made a critical error. Their ships were powered by the same crystal technology that Kim Dae and his people had just learned to control. As the fleet descended toward New Horizon, every ship found its power systems responding to human will instead of alien commands, one by one. The mighty warships of the Warthog Empire gently landed in designated areas around the colony. Their weapons powered down, their engines shut off, and their communication systems began broadcasting a simple message in every language known to the galaxy. This world is under human protection. All who come in peace are welcome. All who come with violence will find their weapons turned to tools of peace. Choose wisely. Commander Velox's flagship was the last to land. As alien soldiers emerged, with their hands raised in surrender, Kim Dae walked out to meet them. The fire around him had grown into something beautiful and terrible, like a living aurora that danced with the joy of victory. Velox himself appeared at the ship's entrance, his crystal body dim with defeat. Behind him came Zenth, still carrying his research equipment, and looking around with amazement rather than fear. This is impossible, Velox said, his translation device making his voice sound broken and confused. Our fleet carried enough firepower to destroy a dozen worlds. How did primitive humans defeat the entire Warthog military? We did not defeat your military, Kim Dae replied gently. We offered it a choice. Your ships chose peace over war. Your weapons chose creation over destruction. Even your soldiers are choosing freedom over following orders that lead only to death. Indeed, throughout the landing area, alien soldiers were laying down their weapons and approaching human civilians with gestures of peace. Many were removing their helmets and breathing the planet's air for the first time, their crystal faces showing wonder at the sensation. Zenth stepped forward, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. The fire bond has evolved beyond individual humans. You have created a collective consciousness that can interface with any energy-based technology. We have created partnership, Kim Dae corrected, between humans and fire, between different species, between those who choose cooperation over conquest. But how did it spread so quickly? 3 weeks ago, only you possessed this ability. Lina joined the conversation, small flames dancing around her fingers like tiny stars. Fire teaches fire. When one person learns to trust flame, they can teach others. When those others learn, they can teach still more. Knowledge wants to be shared, just like fire wants to burn. Park Jin approached with a group of human workers who had been freed from the mines. Many of them were now fire-touched as well, their faces bright with newfound hope and power. What happens now? Park Jin asked. We have won this battle, but there are other worlds under Vorthok control, other humans still enslaved. Kim Dae looked up at the sky, where he could sense distant fires burning on far-off planets. Through the transformed crystal network, he was beginning to detect other human populations throughout the galaxy, all sending out desperate signals for help. Now we spread the flame, he said simply. Every Vorthok ship that came here will return to other worlds, but they will carry something new with them, seeds of fire that cannot be contained or controlled. You mean to infect our entire empire? Commander Valox asked, his voice filled with horror. I mean to offer your empire a choice, Kim Day replied. You can continue trying to rule through fear and force, and watch your technology turn against you on every world you occupy. Or you can learn to work with fire instead of running from it. Zenth's crystal body began flickering with excitement. Again, a symbiotic relationship between silicon-based and carbon-based life forms, mediated through energy manipulation that transcends normal physical laws. The research possibilities are endless. The research opportunities, Kim Day agreed, not possibilities. Opportunities to learn and grow together, rather than studying each other like specimens. Over the following days, an unprecedented transformation began on New Horizon. Humans and Vorthok worked together to rebuild the colony as a place of cooperation rather than oppression. The Crystal Spire became a center for sharing knowledge between species, with human fire mastery complementing alien technology in ways neither group had imagined possible. Some Vorthok, like Commander Valox, chose to leave on the few ships that still responded only to alien control. They could not accept a universe where their technological superiority meant nothing. But many others, led by Zen's scientific curiosity, stayed to learn and teach. The fire-touched humans began preparing for their next mission. Using Vorthok transportation technology powered by human fire mastery, they would travel to other occupied worlds and offer the same choice they had given New Horizon: partnership or continued conflict. Kim Day stood in the transformed command center, watching as messages arrived from across the galaxy. Human populations on dozens of worlds had detected the liberation of New Horizon and were preparing their own uprisings. The flame of freedom was spreading faster than any empire could contain. Are you ready for what comes next? Lina asked as she joined him at the communication console. Kim Day smiled, watching the small fire that danced between his fingers. It was the same flame that had saved his friends in the collapsed tunnel, grown stronger through partnership and shared purpose. Fire is always ready, he replied. And so are we. Through the crystal network he sent a simple message to every human in the galaxy. Carried by living flame that no alien technology could intercept or stop, the fire chooses loyalty over death. The flame chooses freedom over fear. Rise up, children of Earth, your liberation has begun. The age of human slavery was ending. The age of partnership among the stars was about to begin. And at the heart of it all, fire danced with the joy of beings who had learned that the greatest strength came not from conquering others, but from choosing to burn together. The galaxy would never be the same.